E02.
You want some knowledge? You want someone who's going to break it down for you? Well, listen to the king. Listen, all you mother. In your face radio.
My name is Frank Lindner. I am the king of all politics, and I am here today with two esteemed people. The first one we already know from our last episode. Women all over the country have been searching the internet dating sites looking for Julius. Julius, shout out, man.
Hey, how are y'all doing? Actually, I'm changing my name officially from Julius to Angus, just to let everybody know that.
Look, Julius is a gentle flower. He really feels insecure about his internet dating name.
And
but
Angus
I mean,
is beefy.
The point is this. Julius, we're always going to call you Julius, but we'll now go to Angus. All right, and also for a lot of people who listened last time, they know that my fake internet dating name was Mateo, but I have to make a confession. Mateo is not really me. It's actually, I stole that from a guy named Matt Plavin, and today we are very lucky, but we have Mateo with us. Mateo, do a shout out.
Hello. Mateo is my stage name.
So, Mateo, why don't you give us one of those hello, ladies? You know what you're doing on those internet sites.
Hello,
give us a
ladies.
sample.
How are you doing today?
There you go.
I am here for you.
All right, so listen, last time on the show, we talked about a lot of issues, a lot of serious issues. Probably the biggest one, it was right after the election. We talked about the Republicans and the Democrats. And one of the things we were most concerned about was, is the Republican Party going to govern, right? Yeah. Now, the real thing is they haven't even taken their seats yet. They haven't even sat in Congress yet. And we already know that the Republican Party is on the get Obama thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like they want to go after him for criminal stuff. They're all pissed off about him doing the thing on immigration tonight. Yeah. And so the real question is, what can we do? All right, to see about getting these guys to govern. So, Julius or Angus, what do you think can be done for the Republicans to get the right message here and govern?
Well, I really think we need to get Schwarzenegger back in office. I think. Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. So an actor. You want actors. And not only that, but foreign actors. Absolutely. So your theory is bring in foreigners who can become famous and then run our politics.
You dumbass.
All right. Well, hey, it's an opinion.
I want Clinton.
You want Clinton? Yeah. All right, look, of course, Mateo brings up someone who can't run for office. It's impossible for Clinton to run for office. Do you mean Hillary Clinton?
He could run through Hillary.
Do you mean Hillary Clinton? All right, well, listen, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're sitting right next to Julius, who, by the way, hates Hillary. He prays to God, according to us. He prays to God about Hillary not being elected, but I think it's discriminatory. In any event, though.
If you had to choose between Hillary or Sarah Palin, who would you choose?
Ooh, Hillary, definitely.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, I have the solution, all right? I've come up with something that I think is going to solve the problem, all right? And what do I come up with? It's puppy power, all right? Puppy power. I think we have to hold a puppy marathon, and what we're going to do is we're going to give every new member of Congress a puppy. They have to take that puppy with them to every meeting, to every hearing. And you know what? You got to look about this. How can you be in a bad mood, right? You can't be revengeful and angry when you got a little puppy looking at you. Sure. And I think if the Democrats and the Republicans are forced to bring our puppies to every single hearing, I think we're going to have massive change.
I think that's a horrible idea, but I want to see where it goes.
Well, it's like, some people
puppy pads?
Well, you know what? The thing is, when you're in Congress, right, you're doing your hearings, you can't help it. The puppy's going to be peeing and pooping on the floor. It's going to keep them occupied so they won't get off on this crazy crap, like going after Obama for stupid shit, talking about crap that doesn't matter. It's going to focus people into being happy. Pull that trigger on the smile. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Business as usual with people in the government shitting all over America.
Wow, that's pessimistic. All right, well, listen. Other than the pessimism that Mateo just brought into the picture, the thing is...
What was that word?
Pessimism. I have a hard time saying pessimism. But the thing about it is, in all seriousness, I was trying to think about what issues we were going to address today. And we know there's been a lot of great things that have been happening. There's been 214,000 jobs added to the economy. It's the largest since World War II. Yeah. Now, whether or not that's people working 2 jobs or whether or not that's people getting... whether or not those jobs are good jobs, the fact is 214,000 jobs were added to the economy. For the first time in a long time, we are under 6%, right? 6% unemployment, 5.8. So we were going to talk about that. We could also sit here, and I was also thinking as another subject matter more towards social media is, have you noticed, Mateo, that you need to take a test to get a driver's license, but anyone can get married? Don't you think maybe we should have some kind of test, some license before people can get married?
To see how stupid they are to get married?
Maybe. I mean, it's like, what do you think, Julius?
What would the test?
Do you think any idiot should be able to enter into matrimony?
No, absolutely not.
I think any idiot can get married. I just don't think those idiots should have kids.
Oh, well, that's the point. Actually, I like Mateo's point better. There should be a test, a license, before you can have any kids.
Please put this on before you have sex. The rest of the country needs you to do
No,
that.
not put it on. You'll have to register and get permission from the government. And you gotta imagine, here the Republicans can finally have some control in the bedroom, which we know they care
If
about.
that works like Obamacare, nobody's ever going to have sex.
Hey, look, no, they'll have sex. It'll just cost more.
And it will take a long time to get it up online.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I just had that conversation today with an Indian about condoms. He told me, the guy that's doing some of my software development said, "Oh, I was out on a tour and I came back."
Software?
And I know, right? Yeah. But the bus broke down. He goes, "Guess what they use to fix the bus?" I said, "What? A condom?" And he goes, "They're only about a quarter here." I said, "Oh my God, a quarter? I mean, you're spending like $2 a piece, right? In the States for a condom."
Yeah, it's like a box of 3 goes for like around $10, $12.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking as that and oil prices have to be discussed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, we also talked last time about oil, and we all know I think oil should be $60 a barrel, and we should definitely get the oil down. But I mean, are condoms and oil connected? You think maybe
they're made out of petroleum?
Condoms? Do you think the Middle East, Saudi Arabians are controlling and cornering the condom market?
Absolutely.
That's why they're so expensive?
Yeah,
It's a good point to look into.
they're made out of petroleum.
Yeah, those son of a bitches.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, now I don't like the Muslims even more. I'm telling you, now that I know they're causing us to have more expensive condoms, I really think we have a problem. I want to bring this to Congress when we bring our puppies up there.
It's like a double screw.
I'm writing this down.
We're screwing them while they're screwing theirs.
Let's talk about ISIS. All right, now we mentioned this last time. This is a real problem. In my opinion, I think it's more important to focus on domestic policy, but obviously foreign policy has been coming into play. And me and Mateo had a great conversation the other day. Mateo and I. Mateo, that's another thing too. Mateo is also an English professor, so he likes to correct people on their English. So make sure when you call in, you speak with proper English, and we'll refer to the professor's English background.
I'm not an English professor, but I play one on the radio right now.
Mateo, is your real name Mateo or is it Matt?
It's Matt.
Okay.
Yeah, see that Matt.
Mateo is my stage name. When I get up on stage and dance for dollars.
I like your glasses, Mateo.
Thank you. Dollar store, man.
No.
I swear, everybody's commenting on these glasses. Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you.
And they're made out of petroleum.
Why, thank you.
I think you two kind of look a little bit like I don't know, like you got a thing going on there.
Oh.
He is a sexy man.
Yeah.
We have ISIS happening. We have a lot of terrorism going on. There's people dying overseas. There's a lot of issues going on. What is your views? How do you think we should solve this problem?
One of the things is that we're seeing everything from the media's point of view, and they're showing us what they want to show us. And it's really over there. It's what's going on over there is so scary that we think that it's going to affect us over here.
Well, listen, Professor, when we talked the other day, okay, this is what you said. I took notes, by the way.
Okay.
All right, this is what Matt said.
You were taking notes.
What Matt said is this, okay? Matt's like, look, in his mind, okay, according to unless he's changed his opinion since last time, he feels that we got to go over there. We got to beat these guys down. We got to, they're killing people left and right. Okay. They're out of control. They're ravaged dogs. And it's like terrorisms are terrorists. And it's like, basically we got to go there and beat these guys down. Now, have you changed your position?
No, because, pulling out, I think, was totally pulling out was like a bad decision. You can't pull out of this war-torn area and just expect that vacuum that we're going to leave to not get sucked up. It was only a matter of time before somebody was going to take advantage of the situation. And this is what ISIS did. And it could come back here very soon.
Now, what Matt said also last time, and I thought it was interesting, is he's like, look, what he wants to see, and I'm talking to him in third person, like he's not sitting in front of me right now, but what Mateo wants to see is he wants to see strength in our leaders.
Yeah.
He wants to see strength in our army. Mm-hmm. He wants to know that we are safe over here. And he was worried that, people are going to go to work and they're going to send their kids to school here. And we have to worry about it. These terrorists are going to bomb our schools and blow up our hospitals. Do you still have that same opinion, Matt?
What happens over there directly affects us over here eventually.
All right. So, Matt, without getting into all the esoteric stuff, tell me, if you were president right now, what would President Matt Mateo do?
I would make
Vice President Julius.
I would actually show force.
AJ.
AJ's a cool name. I would show force. I would show, like, not excessive force, not bombing everybody back to the Stone Age, but I would make our presence known and let it known that this kind of
Matt, you sound like an ambassador. Just to let you know how Matt put it just the other day.
Okay.
We must put our foot down and we must beat them into submission, shake their very foundation. Now, did you say that, Matt?
I said something along that line, yes.
Oh, those were your exact words.
Now, what do you
Were those our exact words?
They're exact words.
Okay.
So I mean, what we're getting is, I think we should do is we should talk about the esoteric issues of propaganda.
It's a big word for you to be
Now,
using.
what are your guys' opinions, though, on retaliation? So we go over there and we do drop a bomb. What do you think the effects are over here? Like, what do you think would happen?
Well, it's going to give the American people, I don't think we should just go freaking drop a bomb. I mean, dropping a bomb, you're going to hit civilians at the same time.
We're dropping bombs right now, Matt. What do you think we're doing
surgically
over there?
we're dropping bombs.
Surgically.
I'm not talking,
Okay.
to a point, somewhat surgically.
I don't know how you surgically drop a 500-ton bomb. You're going to have collateral damage.
Yeah, of course. It's going to happen, but that's the world they live in. They worship death and we worship life.
Okay, we worship death. Wait, what happened? Say that again. There's a real Matt Plavin. Come on, Mateo.
They worship
Bring
death.
us out the real you.
They worship death. We worship life.
Okay, do you think any human being really worships death?
Yeah,
Anywhere in the
they do
world?
over there. I mean, don't they have this thing where, like, if they die in the service of their Lord by killing a lot of other, there's like 10,000 virgins waiting for them over there,
Like
which
a kamikaze, basically.
and I hope they're all from Comic-Con. Those virgins.
I'm a strong believer. I really am a strong believer that people are people. Okay,
Right.
that you can go anywhere in the world and you have the same type of people are people, lying, cheating, stealing, greedy, whatever it is. And I think what we have to do is look at what creates people to get to a certain spot. So let's take a look at World War II, for example. You know, if you're look how many guys that were flying their planes and actually took on suicide missions when they were taking on the Japanese. They knew it was suicide missions, but they still went because they did it for their country.
Yeah.
They knew we were at war. And so there's a lot of people who, for some reason or another, based on their own life experiences, have gotten to that point where they're ready to kill themselves for their whatever, their belief, their country. It's not necessarily worshiping. The question is what got them there. And this is my concern. My concern is, like in Israel, will there ever be peace in Israel? I don't know, because every time they bomb, they shoot, they kill innocent people. It's just the way it is. Violence begets violence. And what happens is we create more terrorists at the end of the day. So how many terrorists have we created in the last 12 years by all the innocent people we accidentally killed? And this goes back to what we talked about off the radio.
What can we do? Can we just sit back and do nothing?
No, I don't think that. But let's get back to...
Give them flowers and wish for the best, peace, love, and happiness.
Hey,
it doesn't work. Shower with a friend.
You look at this. All meaningful change, when you think about it, has happened not through the sword, but you look at Gandhi, you look at Martin Luther King. They changed the world in significant ways. Dictators never last, you know? And the problem with just using force as your sole solution is the problem.
Okay, but they won't sit down at a table and talk.
Well, first of all, let's get back to the they, okay?
ISIS.
In your opinion, are terrorists just terrorists? Are they all just, is there any distinction between one terrorist group and another?
There's
Just to let you know, he said that their terrorists are just terrorists on the radio the other day. On the radio, with me personally. I don't know who we're talking to now. We got like Ambassador Matt Plavin here. But going back to, isn't it true? Terrorist is terrorist, and we got to stamp these people up.
From our point of view, from the American point of view, we do see, a lot of us see terrorists as terrorists. I mean, they're bombing innocent people. They go over to a school and they kill all the children that are there. I've seen on YouTube them driving by on a major highway, people that are and I've showed you this, and people who, because they have American cars.
Yeah.
Those are terrorists.
Yeah, and they also shot hundreds and hundreds of people all at one time. They marched out.
Yeah, I saw that.
600 people, I believe it was. It's all young guys.
So barbaric.
And they just massacred them. I mean, like Nazi-era massacre. And the problem is this, Matt.
Smiling and laughing in the background.
Oh, yeah, because this is the point. These ISIS guys, they're not only cocky and arrogant, but they really believe God's on their side.
There you go.
And the good thing is now they got U.S. equipment. So they've got A1 tanks. They've got our artillery. They also have all of our money. They seized like $420 million from one bank alone. And so now they are well armed, they're well funded, and they are motivated. And they're definitely, in my opinion, a different type breed, because what ISIS wants to do is they want to do a caliphate. They actually want to forget about like Syria and Iran and Iraq. They don't believe in borders. They want to create a Muslim state that has no borders. It has no borders, and these guys are definitely different.
And it has to be their version of Muslim, not everybody else's version of Muslim.
That's right, because the problem is the reason why they're massacring people out there is there's the Sunnis and the Shiites, and without getting into the differences, we mentioned it last time, sort of like Protestants and Baptists, they view the religion differently, but according to ISIS, only their view is what counts, and that's put us in a weird situation, because now the U.S. has partners, right? We have partners, and who's our partners, Matt? Iran. We're on Iranian side now because they're the other ethnic group they're trying to eliminate. And now we got this weird relationship with the president of Syria, who only like 8 months ago we were saying was Hitler. And so we are finding ourselves, because our policy is so shoot by the hip, that all of a sudden we got these weird partners and we're in a weird situation. And I think we have to look at what created these people.
All right, but how does that solve the problem now? Because they are, you said it yourself, these people will not, if your way is slightly different from their way, then you're my enemy.
Yeah.
How do you talk to somebody like that?
And not only that, but they're vicious. The fact is,
how do you talk to somebody who's vicious like that?
The fact is this. You got to
with a bomb.
These guys literally walk in and everyone knows how vicious they are. It's kind of like in Nazi Germany. If you actually stood up and said, I hate Hitler, not only did they kill you, they kill your entire family. And so it's through this pure vicious aggression that they are just, they take over 2/3 of the country so far. And honestly, they are a real problem. Now, Matt, again, this was on the radio call. You said something I thought was so brilliant. Okay. And
it's rare.
No. Well, I mean, it's like, it depends. Don't talk to Matt about female advice. Oh, but when it comes to politics, I'm telling you. But Matt, about female advice and other types of social issues, we don't know. Hey, but Matt, what you said, and I thought was so insightful was you mentioned the iguana, right? And you said, look, anyone who's owned an iguana, you feed that iguana lettuce all the time, you're fine. But you just feed that iguana meat one time.
Oh, yeah.
It
wants meat forever.
Only wants meat forever.
That's right.
So I do think that that we've identified what is the real issue here, and that is they've tasted blood, they've tasted power, and they're not going back to eating lettuce. Mm-hmm. And so now we have a problem. So Julius, or Angus Julius, what the hell's your name again? All right, AJ, what do you think is the solution to that?
Wow. Well, the solution to what exactly?
Well, you got these guys. They have now tasted meat. They are vicious. They are aggressive. We know what Matt Plavin's opinion is off the radio, and that is beat them into submission. Force and violence is the only thing they respect on the radio. He wants to get into other propaganda issues.
No, I still believe in that wholeheartedly. Violence is what they love.
So
let's give it to them.
What do you? No, you said violence is the only thing they respect.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So
I'll take that.
Julius, what do you think?
I think we just got to go. I know you're saying we've got these surgical missions with these bombs, but I think we really have got to go in there and get the leaders right away, just like it took us forever to get Osama. I mean, I think if we could get in there right away, take out the leaders, I think we hit them where it hurts the most, and I think that would slow them down, at least for now.
You don't think this is like a multi-head animal where the minute you cut one head off, the other head comes up?
Well,
because Matt wants to massacre them.
But I think we got to get the multi-heads right away, like eat every one of them. I just don't see...
It's a temporary solution to a permanent problem.
Well, I think violence is, it's the only way we're going to solve this personally, I think. I don't see any other, they're not diplomats. They're not going to diplomatically
sit down and talk.
No.
Well, let's take a look at this. Let's think about what is the Obama administration's proposal as to how they think they should settle the problem. What they think they should do is they're going to find the good rebels, or says terrorists are terrorists, the good terrorists, the ones that we think are moderate, and they're going to arm them, and they're going to have those guys be the boots on the ground to fight for us, and we're just going to give them a ton of money and a ton of equipment, and we're going to try to, arm the good rebels.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to backfire.
Yeah. And then the good rebels take over, and it's no better than it was before.
You dumbass.
But we already know they got all of our U.S. equipment that we left back there before. So we know whenever we do go back, we're fighting our own stuff.
Why are we leaving stuff over there?
Well, that's another good question. But I'm going to get back to the answer to that question because there is an answer that we said last time for that. But to go back to Obama's solution is I agree with you. I think trying to arm and figure out who the good guys are is impossible from our situation. But the more interesting question is, why do we have to put boots on the ground? There are 2.5 million Arab military troops in Saudi Arabia, the countries. Remember, these kingdoms, they're the ones that have the most to lose because the problem is they're scared of ISIS. They are scared to their core because just like in Syria, they're worried these people are going to rise up. They're going to take down the traditional governments. So the question here is with 2.5 million Arab troops in the region, why is it that we feel we have to send our boots in the ground? They're the ones that have skin in the game. They're the ones that are going to lose everything if ISIS comes in and takes over their countries. How come they're the ones that aren't putting troops on the ground?
Because they know we'll do it. They know that America has always been one of the, and I'm not saying that we're perfect over here, but we've always been one of the leading governments when it comes to taking charge and doing the right thing. Not that we do the right thing all the time, but they're willing to sit back and let somebody else do the fighting for them. And then, okay, this is how we do it. And then when we leave, they get taken over again.
Julius, you agree with that? You think that they're sitting back going, we know America will do it for us. They're going to do our fighting, kind of like the Kuwaitis. We're going to sit back and let the Americans do it for us. You think that's the answer?
I think I agree that they are sitting back thinking that, but that's definitely not the answer.
No, that's not the answer. The answer, I'm talking about what they're thinking. I'm telling you what they're thinking, Matt. They're worried. They're the same thing that happened back during the Civil War. They're worried that they're going to send 100,000 guys out, right? And these guys are actually going to turn around and shoot the officers, and they're going to and they can't trust their own army. That's the problem. That's how screwed up this is. Listen, you don't have 10,000 guys. We had up to 300,000 guys in Iraq, barely could take control of the countryside, couldn't drive from one zone to another without being shot. These guys come in with 10,000 guys and take over 2/3 of the country. You know what that means? They got the hearts and minds. They got the hearts and minds. And so the real question is these other countries, Saudis, whatever, I don't think they can trust their own military. They're worried that they're going to send guys out and they're going to turn the guns on the officers and take them down.
So on that note, us pulling out of there, was it a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, I mean,
because we're basically the backbone over there. If this is what the situation is,
listen. Julius, do you think we can be the policeman of the world? Do you think that's our role to have our troops?
I don't think it
permanently
should be
stationed?
our role, but I think it is our role. I don't think it should. The whole world should be up with us, furthermore than what they are now.
All right. Well, listen, I mean, the thing about it is when we pulled out, we created a vacuum. No, I think the way we pulled out was wrong. But my opinions
I'm a fan of pulling out.
But I know you are. Talked about condoms earlier. Matt's like, I don't have that expense. Just to let you know, ladies, if you look up Mateo on the internet dating sites, he never uses the condom.
I'm on J-Date.
But don't you really think? I mean,
and you're Italian.
I'm not on J-Date.
Don't you think, though, the reason that we are the police of the world is because literally the people that sit there and create and manufacture the arms control the government? I mean, really, these defense contracts, I mean, these people are who get these presidents elected. They're the ones that dump the money into.
All right. So what you're saying is the military complex of the United States is controlling our destiny, our policies, our politics.
I think.
Could it also be the fact that we're also the ones that won World War II and that the whole world is looking at us as, well, they won it. They won the war to end all wars or blah, blah, blah. So maybe they should be taking the front line when it comes to this, and we'll follow after their lead.
Well, listen, the fact is, honestly, I kind of led you guys into a trap with that question about should we be the police officers of the world? Because I'm telling you why. We're not. We don't give a shit. You know, Matt, you said something to me on that off the record call where you were like, look, we need to send troops over there to save the kids, right? You were so upset about all those massive murders that you saw.
Horrible seeing that.
But the thing about it is we don't care. We don't care. There are people dying all the time in Africa. Mm-hmm. There was a massive civil war in the Sudan. Sri Lanka had children soldiers that never even made the newspapers. People were cutting off people's hands over in Nigeria. We don't care. The only time we care is when
The media
oil is
shows us.
somewhere, when our interest is there. The only reason why we care about the Middle East is because there's oil there. And that's the only reason why we want to put boots on the ground. Because God forbid, if these other Arab soldiers did actually go in there, they would seize those oil fields. And then we'd have more of a problem with more of the oil being controlled by this group out in the Middle East, whether it's Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or anything else. So not only is it a double-edged sword that these soldiers may turn their guns on their own officers, but it also comes back to us. Okay, we want to present the picture that we are about being the high and mighty, that we're about caring about all the horrible killing that we see and all that propaganda crap to make us feel comfortable putting troops on the ground. Even the concept of surgical bombing is kind of crazy. Okay, really, when you think about it, Matt, you can't drop a 500,000 ton bomb without killing people that are around it that aren't your intended targets. But if you say the word surgical, it kind of makes you feel a little bit better. We're not just blowing up entire neighborhoods. So it's
Made
like
me feel better.
of course, but when it really comes down to it is we don't care about people being murdered around the world. We are only the police officer when our interest is at play.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And maybe that's the way it should be. I'm not saying is it
A lot
shouldn't
of
be that way.
liberals are shaking their heads right now.
Well, because, the reason why I say that is we try to convince ourselves of our own crap, and think about it. We went into Iraq. We destabilized the entire country. We took out a dictator who was doing the job for us, keeping these guys under control. Yeah. And we did it because of weapons of mass destruction. Yeah. Then that turned out to be, I don't know, called bullshit. Bullshit, right?
What?
Yeah, that called it to be bullshit. And then what happened next?
But there was a banner that said that we won.
But this is the greatest thing. After the banner was up.
Mission accomplished, right?
How amazing is it, Matt, that we almost without a blink of an eye we are there to establish democracy. We're doing regime change. We're going to develop democracy in the Middle East. And so just as quickly, we created this whole new pretense that was also bullshit. And it's not like they were asking for democracy, but even if we were there, that's not why we were there. We were there because of the oil. And what I'm saying is the first thing we should do is stop with the crap, right? And just say the truth. There's too much oil over there.
Government and truth.
But that's what we need. There's too much oil over there. We can't let these numbnuts take control of all this oil. We can't let them control 3 countries in the Middle East, because if they do, they're going to have bazillions of dollars. I don't know if that's a word. And they're going to have bazillions of dollars, and they're going to control the region, and they're going to be rich, they're going to be powerful, and they're going to be armed. Okay, and that's going to be now a direct threat to the United States.
So now we're back to the point of putting our feet down and taking it from them.
Well, I don't know, but the question is this.
Don't know. You just said that you can't let them have control.
No, but this is the point.
Take control.
I think, it's funny because, I was just thinking about Alexander the Great. All right. Now, Alexander the Great, when he went into Persia, he was outnumbered 5-1. Now, Julius, how do you think Alexander beat the Persians when he was outnumbered 5-1?
I don't know.
Okay, he created an 18-foot phalanx. Not a phallic symbol, but a phalanx. And that's just a large spear, 18-foot spear. And what happened is, back in the day, only the guys in the front could fight. Right. So even though you'd have thousands of men, the first line would fight. When they would get exhausted or die, the next line would come. And what made Alexander so amazing is with those 18-foot rods, he was able to put the soldiers that are 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 feet behind, they could get their spears into the fight. Mm-hmm. So even though they were outnumbered 5-1, because he was creative and he was interesting and he came up with new technology, he beat them.
Right.
He beat them. And it's like, that's the point. We have to start not just thinking of violence for violence sake. We have to start coming up with interesting new ways that we can do things to try to actually win. And the thing is, with Alexander the Great, what's the first thing he did after he beat them? He married one of the princesses. He said he started dressing like the Asians. He had to let them know that he accepted their
culture. I will sacrifice myself and marry one of the hot Arabian chicks over there.
All right. Well, listen. I think what we're going to do is let's try to see if we can go to a phone call or two. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some phone calls on this. All right. And once we have the call come in or one or two calls come in, we're going to take them. So Matt, going back to some of the stuff that you were saying about how you would fight. So you think how many troops should we send in there?
Oh, I don't know how many troops we should send in there. I mean, enough.
What's enough? 100,000 men? We've already, listen, we've had 50,000 guys get seriously injured. We've had 5,000 or 6,000, I think it's 6,000 or 7,000 die. Mm-hmm. All right, okay, hold on, it looks like.
We shouldn't be doing it alone, though. Sending in, how many troops should we send in?
We've got a caller on the line, fellas.
All right, well, listen, welcome to the show. What can we do for you today? You have any opinions about ISIS?
Yeah, my name is Howard. I'm a former social studies teacher, and I'm listening to you guys, and I think you're missing the boat.
Marcia.
We have a national, besides an international, security problem. You have the ISIS, who are just cutting people's heads off, killing people for no justified reason. And they're expanding, chopping the people's heads off. And we're just sitting around the world and really doing nothing besides the bombing, which is not effective.
I think Howard's on my side. So where are you going with this, Howard? What do you think the solution would be?
Well, I think the solution should be we should try to get some type of United Nations force together.
There you go.
Of course, Russia would veto it. Okay, in the Security Council, but we should try to work to try to get United Nations forces and go in there, okay, as a united force just to clean them up, okay? I mean, it's just not going after certain leaders, clean them all up, okay? Because eventually they will come, if they control the countries in the Middle East, okay, or anywhere in the world, if they take over countries, then they become a tremendous nemesis, okay, to this country. They're already getting Americans to come over and fight on their side by brainwashing the young people. They're already going after the young ladies, okay?
We can't have that.
And we cannot stand by and let this happen. Who am I speaking to?
Well, listen, you got all us all here, but listen, we stand by and let things happen all the time. I mean, there were 600 girls that got kidnapped. Remember that in Nigeria? And those girls have all disappeared. You know, they've all disappeared. And now they say they were married off and converted into Islam. We know that there's many places all around the world where there's horrible things happening, much larger than ISIS. I mean, you look in Africa, half of the Sudan is unstable. Look at Somalia. You know, Somalia is a complete wreck. Why aren't we sending troops into Somalia?
Well, forget the past. It's what's happening now. What are we going to do now? Mm-hmm. If you had a Teddy Roosevelt in office, he'd be sending troops over there, okay? But we have a United Nations for a reason. It's not used for the reason it was set up to prevent all these things in these different countries.
Well, let's be honest. We all know that the troops are going to be America. We'll be 90% of it. The English will send about, 5% of the guys. And then the other 5% will be the other 75 countries. And so we know the way it's going to be. So the question here is, how many U.S. soldiers do you think have to die? I mean, how many do you think we have to commit to this if you think that's the only way?
As in the past, there always has been death to prevent destruction in the future. There's always been. You always have. It's a shame, but you're going to have men, and today men and women, dying to keep some type of world where there is peace.
Well,
people can fly without being blown up, or planes disappearing, or heads being chopped off. Okay, it's time for the world to make a move. not just the United States. So,
but what if the world?
But we have to attempt to get more.
Howard, what if the world doesn't do it? What if it is just us? What if they don't want to commit? As I said, there's 2.5 million Arab soldiers in the region. They don't want to put any of them really into the fight.
Well, again, you're talking about their soldiers, okay? But if the ISIS takes over their country or penetrates enough, where do you think it eventually is going to come? Okay?
Well, I will say one thing.
I mean, it's common sense that some type of action has to take place.
You know, I think
it has to take place now to try to wipe them off.
I think you speak on one thing, which is, I think you say something that is just so true, and that is, you know, freedom is not free. And there's been a lot of soldiers really going back since the beginning of time that have sacrificed themselves. And so I don't get me wrong. I am not saying that I think there's a large part of what you say is true. The problem here is that this situation needs to, I think we need to come up with something that's not just going to be America putting boots on the ground, us losing 10,000 guys, 20,000 guys. I don't know what needs to be done to bring this kind of coalition, but I think the problem is, I don't think the rest of the world's going to do it. I think what's going to end up happening is like it always has been. It's going to be America and Britain, and 5% of the other, you know, of the military is going to be the 120 other countries.
If we did not stop North Korea, okay, who's now attempting to build atomic bombs, but if we didn't stop them back then, what do you think it would be like? If our boys didn't lose their lives in a stupid Vietnam War, where do you think the world would be right now? Okay.
Well, listen.
You have to think about the future. You have to think about the grandkids and what they're going to come into.
Those are valid points, Frank. You know, and
listen. I just want to say, first of all, really great comments. Thank you so much for your call. We have other people calling in. I'm sure they're gonna respond to what you brought on the table. So, listen, Howard. Thank you so much for calling in a show. We appreciate you. All right. Well, I think what pretty much Howard said is what everyone really believes out there, and that is, you know, maybe there's a necessity here to put troops on the ground. I know that basically Matt's got that opinion. He feels though that
not the only one.
Yeah, I know, but like I said, good luck getting the rest of the world to put in troops. You know, as usual, it's going to be.
We have to get their interest involved.
I don't know. All right, well, let's move on to what is some of the other issues that I think are involved here. Welcome to the show.
How you doing? My name is Jim.
Jimmy. Okay, Jim, what can I do for you? What's your opinion on all this?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm kind of set with Matt over there. You know, you got to put boots on the ground. If you don't put boots on the ground, you know what?
You and Howard are getting a cheesesteak.
It's going to turn real bad for the entire world. Now, I know it doesn't fall on the U.S. to do it. Bombing isn't going to be the only thing. Okay? No, because of oil. I heard you were talking about oil. We were over there. Before 9/11, I would say, okay, but this is a different world now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's your, I mean, like, for example, what do you think, just in a sentence or two, do you think it should be an international force? Do you think other people will actually fight with us? How many troops do you think we should be putting on the ground?
I think it's going to be an international thing. Other people are wanting to see us in there. 41%. 41% of the people in the whole U.S. that want us to have boots on the ground. Obama, is going to think about putting boots on the ground. I saw that on a CNN report a couple of days ago.
Actually,
he is actually thinking about doing it. So even the president now is starting to turn.
I think
you say we're not going to put boots on the ground is a bad thing to do. You know what? I don't think that's a good idea. I think boots on the ground need to be there. Airstrikes. We need to have intel and everything else.
All right. Well, listen, we thank you so much for your opinion, Jim. And thank you so much for calling in the show.
And to quote on that,
All right,
you
guys,
didn't
I'll
exactly.
talk to you later on.
You didn't exactly say we shouldn't put our boots on the ground. You're saying that there has to be more than just putting our boots on the ground. I hear what you're saying. There has to not just be force. It has to be a diplomatic way of going about this. Because once you beat them into submission, which is the way I think we should do, you have to teach them how to be, how to think.
Well, listen, I mean, a couple things I think Jim brought up, which is good. But I think Obama has been wanting to put troops on the ground for a long time. We talked about that military-industrial complex. The problem is, if you notice that for the first time since I can ever remember, we're seeing people being shot, being killed. We're seeing stuff that's not being edited in any way. And I don't think that's by accident. I think what's been happening is that all of this material has been popping up and has been allowed to be out there unrestricted, and it's being done that way to make us comfortable to put boots on the ground.
Right.
And
well, what do you think about though the leader of ISIS, Abu Bakr? I don't even know, how do you pronounce that last? Bakr?
I don't know. You're the one looking it up.
Yeah. But anyway, so
No.
he said though there was that social media post that said. There was an audio recording of him saying that the U.S.-led coalition to destroy ISIS is a terrified, weak, and powerless. Basically, it went on for 17 minutes, basically saying we're failures. And to that, though, Obama's plan was to deploy 1,500 additional troops to Iraq. So,
hey, listen, me and Matt, he asked me a question. Matt and I. He asked me a question. Let's just get rid of he asked me a question about whether or not, whether or not we should be going in there without full commitment. And one of the things that we were talking about was full commitment. It's like Matt's concern was that we're going to do this only half committed. I think 1,500 troops is not really enough. Honestly, I think 3,000 troops is not enough. So the question here is, how many troops do you really think we should commit to be fully committed? So what do you say to that, Mateo?
I mean, an actual number of how many people should be put over it, how many troops should be on the ground. I don't know, 2 for every guy that's fighting us over there, but how many of them are over there?
Well, we know there were 10,000, but that was before they had so much success. So we don't know how many there are.
50,000.
Let's assume it's 100,000.
All right, let's send 200,000.
All right. Oh, okay. Well, I tell you what, we're going to try this caller thing one more time. We have one more caller calling in, so let's put him through.
all right, he's on.
Welcome. You're on the air. Welcome. You're on the air. Okay.
Oh, here he is.
I'll say it one more time. Welcome. You're on the air.
What makes ISIS any different than the United States?
Whoa, big fella.
Don't tell your name. Yeah, don't give your name.
Yeah, what's your address, and I'll come over there and explain it to you.
The United States is just as big of a terrorist organization as ISIS.
I mean, well, explain to me why you feel that way, and you don't have to give your name, but explain to me why you feel that way.
Well, I mean, it's quite obvious. We kill thousands and hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children. We do things in a way that's a little bit more sly than ISIS has, and we don't go ahead and behead women and children right in front of everybody, but we do kill innocent people.
Would we be over there though? Would we be over there if they weren't beheading innocent people and shooting innocent people? Would we even be there besides the oil? How do you put that?
In the middle of Matt talking, he was like, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah,
Frank said it's all about the oil. But listen, I'm very interested. I want you to follow up with that a little bit more. You feel that we've killed thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people in the last 12 years.
I think fighting violence with violence is not the answer.
So, what is the answer?
Peace, love, and happiness.
Diplomacy.
What do you think?
Sit down.
Stop sending billions of dollars to these countries.
What kind of diplomacy do you think is going to work with these people? And I use that term loosely. People. I mean, they're animals. How can you sit down with people who don't want to listen to you? Who the second you go in there are going to freaking bomb you?
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
If I came over and murdered and raped your mother, your daughter, and all your family.
The cops would
Would
never
you
catch
be an
you.
animal?
Would you be an animal?
I would.
Yeah, of course you would.
Exactly. So that's why they're so violent. They have no other.
Yeah, but they won't.
They have no other recourse. Listen, Matt.
They have no other recourse. That's the only way they're getting our attention is through violence.
Yeah, Mateo.
Well, they got it.
Mateo, Mateo works as a bouncer in a strip club, right?
One of my jobs.
We
yeah.
talked about this. Now, listen, Mateo, when someone is being drunk and out of control, is violence the first thing you use? Or
No.
you try to give them like the Jesus hands and tell them that, try to calm them down and walk them out? What is your first response when you're trying to deal with someone who's out of control or acting like an animal in your bar?
I try talking to him. I use the Jesus hands tactics, which is having your hands out in a non-threatening way, but also leaves you for open to counterattack if they try to throw something at you.
So John's a negotiator. Is that what you do for a living, John? Are you a negotiator? Do you work in somehow the negotiating business?
I think anything can be talked out if it's done right. You know, if we show respect and we show that we're not going to come over and kill and rape you, then I think a deal can be made. But there's so much, at this point, there's just so much, bad taste in their mouth.
All right, well,
it's tough to get over.
Look, I would love to be able to sit down with them at a table after we sanction them and try to work out some deal. But these people,
after Matt beats them into submission, he wants to sit down and talk with them.
Look, the more that you curd them and you try to and you put barriers up for them, the more violent they're going to get over there.
But Matt, don't you remember the other day on the phone you said it's too late for talking? All the talking's been done. There's only violence is left. It's too
because
late.
they won't listen. They won't sit down. They will not sit down.
Violence is not going to be the answer.
Well, listen, John, we're going to let you go. We definitely think you brought up some very interesting points. We want to thank you for your call.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So, I just want to say I've been kind of baiting a lot of things out there. And even though you may think you know what my opinion is, I do have an opinion on this. But I wanted to hear all sides. And I was trying to take a devil's advocate position. But listen, I think we have to look at recent history. We know in the Balkans, for example, remember the Serbia, although I don't know for some of the people that don't remember this from the 90s, but they were vicious. They were out of control. They were doing Nazi acts. They were mass graves all over the place. Just as bad as ISIS. No oil was there, though. So, of course, we weren't going to put troops on the ground. But the point is that they were just as bad, okay? And what we did is we used air power and a couple other things and diplomacy. And to be honest with you, that region is under control. All right, that region's under control. And I think it's a great parallel to what we're dealing with here. There is no difference between what's happened in the Balkans and what's happening in the Middle East. None at all, except oil is there. That's the only difference. The violence was just as bad. The Balkans was worse. They were worse because they were literally committing mass grave atrocities, far worse than just killing 600 guys. But the point here is it's food for thought. Now, what John brought to the table is, that violence breeds more violence. Violence doesn't breed peace. So I'm going to give you right now my solution. Okay. So are we ready?
Yes,
the king of all politics is going to speak. If we had a technician that was worth his shit, we could play music right now. But right now, to be honest with you, it ain't going to happen.
Now,
it ain't going to happen.
I had a week.
Okay, but with that being said, actually, I take that back. Julius, I really have affection for you, Julius.
Thanks, man.
That's why when I was sitting next to you, I wanted to sit across from you so that I could actually have this view.
I am looking at your
You wanna
eyes right
touch my
now,
leg?
and you are kind of creeping me out.
All right, so listen. What is...
That's my favorite song, by the way.
So I had to do it.
Julius just shot me. Okay,
I'm
so
not sorry, actually.
So listen, this is really what I think we need to do, and it's sort of an interesting mixture of John's negotiating, Matt's beating them to the ground. Julius has killed their head leaders. It's sort of a mixture of all this that comes together. And first, what I think we need to do is, I don't know if we need 200,000 troops, but we need about 30,000 troops out there. We got to first thing go in there and we have to seize those oil fields and create a big U.S. base there. Now, with us having the 30,000 troops there, we seize those oil fields. We control the number one issue that affects our interest. Now, number two is these guys are arrogant. They want to fight.
Oh, yeah.
They want to fight. They want to fight. And we normally cannot get into a conventional fight with terrorists. What we don't want to be doing is going in building by building and city by city trying to fight these guys because it's a mistake. All right. And we don't have the hearts and minds. And even if we take a hill, the minute we leave, it's going to be reoccupied by the other guys. So instead, what we do is, since they've got our military equipment, since they got our artillery, and by the way, this is the first time a terrorist organization could actually lob actual artillery into our base. Before, the biggest thing they had was mortars. They could sit around about a mile away, lob basically a grenade in, and then run for their lives. But these guys can sit 30 miles away and actually lob artillery into our bases. And they have our tanks. So it's like we got a real problem. But the good news is, in my opinion, is they are arrogant and they think God's on their side and they want to prove it. But they don't have to prove it because they've already proven that they win every time they go in somewhere. So we basically lure these guys into a conventional fight, and then we take out as many of them as possible. We try to gut them out in a basically one large engagement. After that, we pull back. We kill as many of the heads as we can. Mm-hmm. We take out as many of the soldiers we can. God forbid, we please take out most of our equipment that they have that we can. Right. And maybe even we try to get some of the money back. And it's like, and we do an actual conventional war. We hit these guys with everything we got. Now, once we pull back, then what? We just can't leave that vacuum that Matt was talking
exactly
about. So what we know is
going to happen again.
What we know is, instead of trying to figure out who are the good terrorists and who are the bad terrorists and who we get to fight our fight for us, instead of that, what we need to do is realize that there are identifiable groups in the region. There are the Kurds, who right now are the only ones really putting the boots on the ground right now, and we are just leaving them to dry because they're just literally being massacred with our equipment. But there are the Kurds out there. The Kurds have wanted an independent state forever. We know there's a Shiite area in the north. We know there's a Sunni area in the south. So we create separate countries. We actually create separate regions. We do everything we can from the air to protect these separate independent countries.
And what
it is we take, no, not stabilize, Matt. What we do is we do what the British did. The British, how do you think the British controlled most of the world for so many years? They did three things. First, divide. So by making these three independent countries, they'll be so busy fighting with each other that they'll be divided. Second, keep them poor. Literally, keep them poor. The Israelis do this. The Palestinians are broke. They are completely poor. They don't have money to buy cannons. The best thing they can put together is some mortars and homemade rockets. That's the best they got. If you're using car bombs and
it's ingenious.
It's not ingenious. It's desperate.
It's desperate, but it works.
So that it doesn't. The Palestinians are isolated. But this is the point. The thing about it is that they can't even get concrete, Matt. You go into Palestine, they don't have concrete. Why? They have to build their houses out of mud. All right. Why? Because the Israelis won't let concrete in because they use concrete for what? The underground tunnels. They use concrete for. So that shows you that this divide and conquer attitude that the British taught us during the colonial period of time, this keeping them poor, okay, and keeping them where the best thing they got is sending in their women and kids with suicide vests and trucks and keeping them away from A1 tanks and artillery. That's the key.
How long do we keep them poor?
The real point is, Matt, is that makes us assholes.
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing about it is we never want to admit to that, but we have to do what's in the United States interest.
I'm okay with admitting that I'm an asshole.
That's the point. We have to be assholes. And let's not pretend we're trying to bring democracy to the Middle East and that we're trying to save the kids from the horrible videos you saw with people getting shot, because we don't give a shit. All we care about is protecting those oil fields, get these people fighting with each other, establish these independent states, let them fight it out,
And our
let them
homeland be safe.
and keep them poor. Now, the thing about it is, the last thing is there has to be some humanitarian thought. So the last part of the plan is create a safe zone. All right, create a zone just like the Palestinians had in Jordan. You know, there are camps out there that were set up like 35 years ago, but these are displaced people and they have no place to go. So we set up the safe zone and we sort of do what Howard was suggesting. Okay, we allow the international forces to put together a military contingent to protect the safe zone under a UN flag. So for people that can't find a home in any of these separate countries that we set up, okay, and of course, we're not going to take them in America. So we set up the safe zone, but it still sucks because these zones are going to be tent cities. It's going to be horrible lives. And just like with the Palestinians, people are going to be there for generations, But what it does do, what this plan does do, is it does create, in my opinion, stability in the U.S. interest. It's honest. Okay, it's honest. And we can still take John's approach and try to negotiate as best we can to have treaties with these 3 or 4 separate countries that we now create, Sunni country, Shiite country, Kurdish country, and we use diplomacy and we still give foreign aid and we still try to do some things, but I think that's what needs to be done, and that's a very hard line approach. So now, Matteo, what's your opinion?
That was, yes, great speech. I'm inspired. All right, look, I would love to be proven wrong and find a less violent, more diplomatic solution to this problem, but I'm going to go with the only advice that my grandfather gave me that I actually listened to because he was an asshole. You get more out of a person with a kind word and a baseball bat than you do with just a kind word.
Okay.
Huh?
All right. Well, listen, so what's your opinion?
I don't get a drum roll?
My opinion is, I think, honestly, feet on the ground is the only way to go. Personally, I just don't see diplomatic ways entering into it. That's not the way they think. They're not educated.
So you still think it's they have some different kind of mind. You realize that they're 99% identical. They have the same kidney, the same heart, the same blood flow, the same everything that you have.
Though? Religion.
Okay.
And
all right.
ideology.
All right. And so you don't think that John is telling that we don't necessarily have religion or theology, but we say under God, we're basically a Christian country. And John is right. We killed hundreds of thousands of people. God knows how many people we've killed in Iraq between the first Iraq war and the second Iraq war. So the real issue is, and I'm not saying we're terrorists, I think we were doing what's in the United States interest. I believe in U.S. interest first, and let's not try to cover it up with niceness. Now, I don't think we've been nice, and I think we've created a lot of terrorists. But I don't think they're any different than us. I think people will always do what's in their interest. The problem is getting that to be in their interest. Right now, Matt, imagine you're living in the Middle East, right? What is their biggest problem? In America, our biggest problem is obesity. Okay, in Iraq, the biggest problem is running water.
I was going to say running water.
Okay, running water,
Not
electricity, not having your kids die from malnutrition.
Yeah.
All right, so and the problem here is that I'm not saying that
if I was living over there and I saw the Kim Kardashians and the Paris Hiltons, I would hate us too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, in so many ways, they hate us because they see how gluttony the rest of the world is. Not just us, but Europe. We use 2/3 of all the resources. There's 7 billion cell phones out there, enough to give every human being 2 cell phones. But I guarantee you, there aren't many cell phones in these villages and small towns. Okay, these people have no access to anything. So they're jealous. And that's a basic human response.
Right. Is it that they're jealous? I mean, do they want those things that we have?
They're jealous we have the Note 4, which is not a plug, but if they want to send us some.
I think they're jealous in the sense that they have so little and we have so much.
Which goes back to the we worship life, they worship death.
I have to agree. I don't think they really want that much, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't think they're sitting around thinking they want iPhones, but
Right.
I think what they want is food on the table. I think what they want to do is to be able to have water, to be able to have basics. I think they sit there and they have so little that the only thing they can do is pray to God, and hopefully God can make it better for them. That's the only recourse they've
Don't you
got.
think that sometimes, though, that they get so comfortable with the hate that the hate becomes like a warm blanket and
Yes.
like a best friend to them?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
talking about
when
people that
you
strap
have people that
bombs to
love
their
that
women.
kind of hate. Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
that kind of hate.
Yeah, like...
Well, listen, imagine the Africans, what they must be thinking, okay? You know, Ebola, this whole big thing, we had like one case here in the country, maybe two. The whole country was panicking. But imagine what they're thinking. Ebola has been going around and has been an absolute scourge on the African continent since the 1970s. They've got 10,000 people dropping dead and all these problems. They're talking about possibly thousands and thousands every week dropping at some point down the road. And then one American doctor gets sick, right? He's on his last legs. I mean, he's bad. He's got the sores. He's going to go. He's running 105 fever. No way he's going to make it, right? They put him on a plane. They give him one shot. Okay? And then by the time he lands in America, he walks off the plane. Okay? Because guess what, guys? We have the cure for Ebola. Or maybe not the cure, but we have the antiviral stuff that can fight the disease, and we've had it all along.
Our concern wasn't for that one doctor. Our concern was him spreading it to everybody.
Doesn't matter what it is. If I was sitting in, say, Liberia, I'd be like, what the blank? You kidding me?
Yeah.
You guys have been sitting on this for 20 years. It's like we're dying on the vine. Why? Because it wasn't in our interest.
We just found that cure.
We didn't want to send it over there. Why? Because we're keeping it for ourselves. I mean, in case we ever have to go to war, or God forbid someone tries to weaponize it. But the point is, we don't care about the Africans. We don't. And then what we care
We only
about...
care about our own self-interest.
Our own self-interest. And, you know,
agree with that.
But how many people do you think around the African continent are like those goddamn Americans? And this is the thing. We still haven't given it to them. We still haven't sent it over. It's only when it was possible that it could come to America, right? Sure. It was possible it could come to America that all of a sudden... we now care.
See,
it's all over the news. Was the Ebola outbreak 2 years ago all over the news? No.
But that's not my fault, your fault. That's not a civilian problem or fault. That's a government fault for not giving them the medicine that they could have.
It's not the government.
They could have lifted one little finger and helped out thousands and thousands of people, if not millions of people. And they didn't do it. How do I have control over that? How do I even know that we have a cure for Ebola?
Matt, how does a couple countries in the world get 2/3 of everything? We don't get it by being nice guys. We get it
by winning the wars.
No, we get it. We get it by being the bad guys. Now, it's how we do it. We succeed and we get all of the resources of the world because they are too poor. We keep them divided and poor. We are the bad guys. But you know what? I don't mind that because this is the United States of America. I do believe in democracy. I do believe in our way of life. And honestly, I think that's where 2/3 of the world's resources should go. It should go to us.
And if it's 3 a.m. in the morning and I want a cheeseburger, I want to be able to go out to a place and be able to get it.
And me and you were eating a lot of cheeseburgers.
Hell yeah, too many.
All right, so listen, there's one thing I want to get into. I have no idea what that was.
That was me.
But there's one thing I want to get into that I thought really John mentioned so well, and that is Israel, okay? The real question is, Israel, will there ever be peace? I mean, they've taken the approach of putting up a fence. They have completely dominated. As I said, if the Palestinians shoot over 100 rockets, Israel, comes over with F-16s, and and it always Israel just can come in there and just wipe them out anytime they want, and they do. But every time they use that kind of violence, Matt, every innocent person they kill, every person that's out there that dies, we create all their family members who hate and want to be terrorists.
Right.
And so this goes back, Matt, to what I said to you when we talked the other day. If some other foreign country came in and was targeting, say, some terrorist person and they dropped a bomb and they killed your sister, or maybe they killed your sister's kids, at some point you may not immediately be hateful, but it's only a matter of time if enough people get killed and you feel it that you will forever be a terrorist.
I hear you on that, but we're over here, and they are over there. You know, the fact of the matter is, we got to look after.
So it's all location. You know what? It's amazing.
It's our
That's
point,
it right there. It's all location.
It's our point of view. It's our point of view.
We're here, they're there. That's it. All right.
It's our point of view is what I'm trying to say. Our personal point of view.
You know, my goal today was simply to open people's eyes to different perspectives. I don't think I have necessarily the right answer. Matt, you may be right. Maybe we have to go over there with 200,000 troops and basically kill them all, you know, or kill as many as we can. You know, Julius, you may be right. You know, there's no negotiating with them. They are different from us. They think differently. They worship death. And maybe you guys are right. All right. I personally think that there's been a lot of propaganda out there. I think that all of a sudden we're seeing people, and there's no like blurring it out. It's
propaganda. What about videos of them beheading people?
Oh yeah, and that's propaganda too.
But that's them. That's
sure.
real.
Propaganda isn't one-sided. To be honest with you,
we don't behead people and then put it on.
Actually, I would pay, you know, for some of the criminals out there to watch that pay-per-view.
Oh, there'd be a lot of people that think we should hang people publicly, terrorists publicly. We electrocute people. I mean, it's like, is there anything worse than electrocution? But you ever see someone get electrocuted? Their eyes melt. Their eyes melt. Their hairs catch on fire. That's why they have to shave it.
Right.
But hey, you know, at least we don't take 30 seconds and kill them by slitting their throat. We just torture them and we electrocute them.
They're convicted criminals.
Well, of course, makes a difference. Frying them from the inside out.
A reporter.
But I'm just saying it's propaganda from all sides. And I think the problem here is that we want to try to just not be, in my view, and again, I'm not saying my view is right.
No one's saying that.
I think I agree partially with John. Violence begets violence. I think you have to realize that that's not going to necessarily be the do-all. I feel the plan that I put out there, I think, meets the force standards of what a lot of people want to see. I mean, we'll get into a massive battle with them and we'll take out as many as we can. But also, I don't want us to be getting into 200,000 troops, fighting them building by building, city by city. And then the minute we pull out, because we can't stay there forever, they are right back in there again. And I just don't want us to get into this protracted problem. And so I think the answer has to be something more creative. Now, that's my view. Matt? Any final thoughts on the subject before we leave ISIS?
No, I mean, I would love to find a peaceful solution to this. I would, but I just don't think that they want.
It's too late. You said it already. Enough talking's been happening. Yeah. Even though that in your job
not enough talking.
Of security,
there's never
violence is rarely used. But according to foreign policy, you gotta. Violence is the first thing. It's been 4 months. These guys, they cut people's heads off.
Violence is not the first thing. It's the last thing, and that's unfortunate. But I think that if we could just have if they could just stop with all and talk, but they won't.
No, then they will never talk. And Charles Manson is marrying a 20.
I know. I hear she's like extremely hot. Too.
She is. And she's got a death wish. I mean, that's really the only reason.
Why is it a death wish? She's in prison. He's never getting out. How is she going to die?
Visits? He can kill her in there. Does he get conjugal visits?
You know what? No. A lot of prisons have gotten rid of conjugal visits. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I agree with that, because I think if you give someone something to look forward to, they're going to be better prisoners. You know, it's like they got rid of a lot of states. Texas got rid of the last meal, too, because you had people abusing it. There was a guy who was going to be
abusing their last meal.
Yes. Well, what he was doing is, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was going to be, I think, electrocuted. Your favorite form of terrorism. But the point here is that he was like ordering like 5,000 things. He wanted steak. He wanted hamburgers. He was ordering these obnoxious things. It was like a $500 or $800 meal or $10,000 meal. So the Texas was like.
How much does it cost to keep him inside of a prison cell a week? How much does that cost?
Yeah, well, is that the cost analysis to justice?
No, but maybe make it like, okay, you get like 10 things you can choose, or between 5 and 8 things you can choose for your last meal. Don't let them go nuts, but.
I agree. I mean, they could. I think they. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. If we're going to kill somebody, I think giving them the meal they want before they die, within limits.
What would be your final meal?
My final meal.
Yeah, but did that guy give his victim their final meal before he killed them? No, he took a knife to them, slit their throat, and killed them. He didn't say, hey, what do you want to eat before you killed them?
Yeah, but what about all the people that we executed that actually were innocent that we're finding out after the fact? I think them having a last meal is the least we can do for them. The argument's got two sides of the sword.
Maybe.
My brother and I, my mom didn't appreciate this, but we said that if we were to have a last meal, our last meal would probably be my mom's spaghetti.
You know, you're asking me about last meal.
You've had my mom's spaghetti.
I know. Listen,
oh my God.
I get the mama and I keep that song just pop in my head. I was just thinking that what would be my last meal? I mean, what do I really, 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 really love? I got to tell you, that's a tough one. I love spaghetti. I love spaghetti and meatballs. I'm a very simple guy that way. I mean, that's why I'm a fat guy. I love carbohydrates. So I'm going to say, but yeah, do you really want spaghetti and meatballs to be your last meal?
I want it to be messy.
You feel like you got to get fancy.
I want them to have to clean up something.
I tell you what, I'm going to be the intellectual in the room. I want French foie gras. Okay, there you go. And for people who don't know what that is, look it up. It's very disgusting. But that would be my last meal because I want to be different, Matt. I don't want to, I want to be someone who be like, what did he have?
It would be prison foie gras. I doubt it wouldn't be the Capitol Grill foie gras.
So Julius, Capitol Grill doesn't make foie gras.
Well, whatever.
Capitol Grill? You're kidding me. That's a steakhouse. How dare you say that?
Sorry. It would be
Man, you pissed off every restaurateur in the city.
It wouldn't be Ponderosa's.
So listen, Julius, Angus, what is your name again? AJ. AJ, what would be your final meal?
It would be Charlie's Pizza.
I've never had that. Is
Actually,
that good?
Deep dish pizza from like Chicago deep dish pizza. That would be a good one too.
Fuddruckers. Fuddruckers. Remember them? Those burgers were so thick
still
and
around,
juicy. But up in like Connecticut inside the casinos.
Yeah, they're good.
Are they still around?
Very scattered. Not really anywhere. You know, I mean, they have one inside the Fox Chase or whenever those casinos up in Connecticut. I know that.
You know what though? A really, really, really good cheesesteak. I'm not talking like the crappy cheesesteaks now they're making downtown. Like extra meat. A really good cheesesteak. Maybe that would be a runner up for me.
Jim's.
All right. So listen, I just think that out of all the things that was said today, the most brilliant thing that I thought I came up with.
What is the most brilliant thing you came up with? The most
brilliant thing is puppy power. Okay.
Puppy
I am
power.
telling you, if we can bring that to Congress, I think we might see the Republicans.
What if they were talking, they had to juggle kittens?
Well, I mean, hey, some people feel that to not be discriminatory, they should have kittens, but I don't think kittens would bring the same thing to the table as puppies. I mean, to me, puppies are just so much more cute. Not that kittens aren't cute.
I hear you. They're more lovable.
All right, so Matt, what is the thing that you feel was the most brilliant thing you spoke about in your professional? Remember, Matt's a professional. In Matt's professional opinion, professor of English.
I'd probably go back to the quote. You get more of a person with a kind word and a baseball bat than you do with just a kind word.
That's the one you're hanging on, huh?
I'm going with that.
Okay, Julius.
Put me on the spot here a little
quote?
No, not a quote. Julius is looking shit up on the internet. He's a tech guy. Okay, I'm asking.
A takeaway.
He's got his computer set to Google. He's looking up famous quotes.
He's like, I have nothing personally that I thought was brilliant, but I have the computer and Google.
What I thought was brilliant would be my last cat sound. I think it just came in at the perfect time.
That was amazing.
I think except for all the technical crap with trying to take phone calls, I feel you've done a very good job, Julius. AJ, I just want to say that you're going to confuse all your online daters. I mean, people have been searching for Julius on all the online websites.
Sure.
But listen, guys, it's been my honor. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to the phone calls. Whether you think I'm right or Matt's right or whatever your opinion is, I think we've talked it out, and I'm very honored today. So, from Frank Lindner, the king of all politics, peace out.
Take care, everybody. Love your family.
AJ out.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.